All right. I'm going to single-handedly bring the energy and the expertise level of MCP down to like 1. Because my boss sent me this quote from Hacker News, and it said that MCP is the first technology where there are more developers for it than there are users. And I think this room probably signifies that a lot. So I thought I would actually talk a little bit about my journey when I first started off with using and building some of these MCP servers a few months ago. And the lessons I learned and how that journey panned out into how I am thinking of MCP servers and how I'm using those MCP servers at DigitalOcean, which is the company that I work at. But again, my name is Amit. I am a developer advocate at DigitalOcean. How many of you have heard of DigitalOcean? Oh, this warms my heart. Thank you. The reason I say that is because I go talk to developers and have you heard of DigitalOcean, and say, yeah, you guys write tutorials. And it's like, yeah, we do a little bit more than that. But we are a cloud company. We were actually started off in New York. And I have been in 10 years in DevRel. I was at Amazon Alexa before this and some time at Retool. I am based out of New York. I am a self-proclaimed Lego nerd and a compulsive Seinfeld quoter, which thank you very much, glad you asked. This is my favorite set. It's a 1,300-piece set on a show about nothing. But I don't work at Lego, I work at DigitalOcean. But the same concept, simple blocks, you can build whatever you want, just like Lego, it just happens to be in the cloud. We do everything that you would need from the cloud. I'm not gonna go into super details about this, you already know about DigitalOcean, but we have also added some AI stuff, because of course we have. Okay, so at this point, I'm gonna switch over to the thing that I really wanna talk about. So like I said, I started off learning about MCP when our head of DevRel reached out to me and was like, hey, this MCP thing looks cool. I was like, of course it does. There are like 20 things getting released every week. I'm not going to bother about this. And then, of course, everyone is talking about it and hyping it up. It's like, OK, let me check it out. And my first thought through this was that, what the heck is this? I don't even understand. Why would I need it? Why would I use it? And how do I even get started with this? Like everyone seems to be 20 steps ahead of me, and this is March. Like Anthropic came out with this in like September, October, if I remember correctly. So in like 4 months, everybody seems to be ahead of me. How do I catch up? And ironically, there was just so much information out there already with YouTube videos and all of that, but I was still struggling to ramp up my head around that. So I started off just building random stuff. And as I was watching videos, I was asking ChatGPT. Of course, ChatGPT didn't know jack about MCP and would give me like these weird MCP things that, oh, you probably mean model context something else. I was like, no, that's not what I mean. But everything that I learned, I decided to, Python is my go-to language. So I was looking at things from a Python perspective. And everything that I learned, I wrote this blog post on DigitalOcean, which was like everything I wish I knew. And some of these things were, now looking back, were really this simple of like, apparently there are a few different transports that you can use. I was like, okay, there's like stdio, which I think some people call Studio, the experts. But I was like, there's this stdio way of doing it, and looks like there's an SSE and this new thing, streamable HTTP way of doing it. Oh, and also there's a local MCP and there's remote MCP. And I'm talking a few months ago, so everything was local. There was not a whole lot of remote MCP stuff happening. But as I was going through this, what I realized is that as I was learning, and I was talking to people internally and externally, I started to advocate for MCP. Just like being a true evangelist, I thought this was cool, and DigitalOcean should have an MCP server. And what that meant was that, well, I should be in my IDE, and I should just be able to deploy apps from my IDE. I should be able to check what databases I have. I should be able to just make changes, and it should just magically happen. We didn't have a DigitalOcean MCP server. We didn't even know a lot about MCP servers at that point. So I started advocating it internally. It's like, oh, this is what I've built. This is what I did. And I don't know, some of you may remember, but Anthropic had this prompt on their website that you could copy and take it to your LLM and point it to a GitHub llms.txt. You basically just copy those two things and say, hey, I want to build an MCP server. Here is my API spec. Can you do this? So at that point, I did something with that, and I presented that as a prototype to the powers at DigitalOcean. And they're like, yeah, this is cool, but you should go chat with this team also. And as I was doing more and more of that, I realized that I was repeating myself a lot. There were these questions that everyone was asking me. And so that's why I wrote this blog post. But once I had that basics going on, then I was like, okay, so how do I even set this up? There's this talk of JSON config. What does that mean? And then it turns out that it depends on the IDE that you're using. All of these IDEs or clients use their own JSON config. So Claude Code has its own Claude JSON. Cursor has its mcp.json. And Claude Desktop, by the way, has its own separate JSON. So there's no way to keep these in sync. They all operate differently. But again, these were all learnings that I was gathering as I was going on this journey. And then we got to this point that I figured that I need some really cool MCP server to show to people so the lights just turn on. It's like, oh, we absolutely should have this. And even the non-technical people, I was talking to a lot of product marketing people, I was talking to a lot of product people even, who were not super technical. They were good at their specific product, but they weren't like super technical enough to understand what MCP quite is. So I've built this, and let me give you a demo of this. It's pretty simple MCP server. I'm gonna disable, make sure it's not running. Yeah, okay. So it's a domain checker MCP server, because of course I check domains multiple times a day. So I want to check, is digitalocean.com domain available that I can snag today? So Claude is not going to know that. It's going to be like, oh yeah, go to this website and check it, and good luck with that. I'll help you check. Yeah, it's giving me some standard LLM information. That's not what I want. So I have this MCP server for domain checker. I'm going to enable this time, and I'm going to ask it, try again, please. So hopefully it's going to pick up the MCP server. But this is a room full of MCP people, so you know this can go either way. I'm going to say allow once. And sure enough, it's firing off this MCP server. So sadly, it's not available. But when I showed this to a lot of people, it's like, oh, that just light bulb just clicks. It's like, okay, so everything that otherwise the LLMs were just throwing information at me, random generic information, now it can actually act on something that's outside of its domain. So that happened, and then I worked with I basically tag teamed with a software engineer to bring up a prototype for DigitalOcean MCP server. And since then, we have a full-blown MCP server, so I can actually deploy things from my IDE. So here I am, my DigitalOcean MCP server. Hopefully you can see this. I have a few MCP servers here, but only the DigitalOcean MCP server is enabled. But here was another learning I had. I'm actually going to go into this, and I know this is getting recorded, so I may have to get rid of a lot of these API keys, but we'll play with that. So as you can see, there's DigitalOcean MCP server provides this flag, and this is again something I learned. If you have a lot of tools that you have on your MCP server, it can cause context overload, because all of these tools are actually getting sent off every prompt. So DigitalOcean actually, I think it's a clever way of doing it. They have this flag, so if I go back into this, now you can see that there's 174 tools, because DigitalOcean has a lot of APIs, and all of these tools are available. I don't need all of these tools. I'm not actually, this specific app, for example, is not going to work with, it doesn't need droplets or the VPS stuff. So I only need apps and databases for this one, so I just enable the services flag, and now, sure enough, it's going to load only the 45 tools. So this is a good way to scope things out, and this is something that I think eventually client should be doing this on its end, or some sort of a proxy layer that happens. But as of now, we are all hacking our way through this that the MCP server or the LLM is only getting sent off a select portion of your tools available. So at this point, I can go here and I can say what apps do I have on DO. And that should fire off the DigitalOcean MCP server. And I'm going to say run. OK, so it gave me a list of all of that. I could also say, can you spin up a dev MongoDB server in NYC3 region, call it MCP demo DB. OK, so since I had the databases also available, it's going to fire it off. And yeah, so it's going at NYC3 region, and it's going to create the MongoDB database. So again, like a lot of these things you can do without ever leaving your IDE. And then I was like, OK, so everyone seems to be talking about this remote MCP server. How do I do this? So I hacked my way through it, and I built this. The whole domain checker is now a remote MCP server. So if you go to this repo, you can click on deploy to DigitalOcean, and that will just automatically create this remote MCP server. So if you would want, you can use this template, just configure it to whatever you want, and you can do that too. So which is what I did. I built this. I hacked this. This was just today, so hopefully this is going to work. I turned that into an event information agent MCP server. It's going to ask, I can ask information about this specific event. And again, screenshots are still pretty old. But let's go back into our cursor, and I'm going to, so you can see that the MCP builder is, OK, here we go. OK, so I have 5 tools available here. I have get event info, get speaker details, all of that. And let's fire off cursor and ask, can you tell me who is speaking at September 18th event of the MCP Builder event? OK, so it's firing off, searching events. OK. Amanda, let me know if this seems accurate to you. Yeah. OK, cool. So, so behind the scenes, this is actually using a DigitalOcean agent. So let me just give you a quick view of that. So I've created this knowledge base, and the knowledge base is literally me just copying the URLs, Luma URLs here. But again, you could, if you were building an agent, you could add different sources. You could do something like spaces, a bucket, or a file upload, or a URL. And if you choose a URL, you can go how deep a scope you want to go. You can also upload from your S3 bucket, but I've already done this. So once you have the knowledge base, you go and you create a agent. So this agent is connected to that knowledge base that we just saw. And here I have this playground. So I could essentially ask the same question: what is the MCP Builder series event? And it gives me that information based on the training data that I've given it. So the MCP server is really just calling that agent. But I thought it's a super cool use of the agent and the MCP server. So that's what I've learned. Hopefully that was helpful if you are starting off in a journey as a user and a developer. Again, I'll leave you with some of these QR codes if you want to scan those. This is the DigitalOcean MCP server template if you would want. So yeah, my name is Amit. Let me know if there's anything, any questions you have.